What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to the newest member of the Combate Global roster. He is no ordinary cowboy. He's the one, the only, Quentin Camacho. Quentin, what's going on, sir?
Hey, man, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me tonight, Adam. Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. The pleasure is all mine, good sir. And special hearty shout out to one Noah Tillis, a friend to you and me. You might call him, there you go. Nice little product placement there, good sir. But you might call him Professor. I call him friend. That's a good brother right there. And shout out to the whole Smart Star Combate Global family there, because for you guys, this wouldn't happen, right?
Yeah, man, the production value that these AMI shows are putting on nowadays, it's crazy. It's really setting the stage for our professional career. So as a fighter, I just want to say thank you personally to Tony, Heather, and Mike, man. Between the three of them, they take care of us and give us our platform that our fighters are fighting for, man. So thank you guys.
Hey, and it's not just you guys, man. I cut my teeth 8 years ago at Smart Star shows, when they were still in the commerce, like the ballroom and stuff like that, I mean, it was almost like a homecoming, like the last Smart Star. I'd been kind of, away from the fight game for a couple of years and whatever, and just to come back and just be welcomed with open arms. I mean, and it's crazy because like you tell people like, oh, I'm fighting amateur and whatever, and like, I don't know what people think, like amateur or what have you, but like the Olympics that's coming up, those are amateur sports, folks. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to Star right there at the Commerce Casino, or wherever they may hold them, you are getting the creme de la creme on production values and fights. My goodness.
Yeah, man, I love meeting people from other gyms and just networking with all the creative types like we were talking about, to meet you through my coach, Noah. It's a blessing, man. There's a lot of people doing beautiful things. Curtis, I Capture Violence, man. He's at all the local cage fights. He's at all the local point sparring matches, jiu-jitsu even. Steez is another guy. There's a lot of media players on the West Coast who are really coming out. Short form Instagram, long form like this. And it's cool, man. I'm all about that.
No, for sure. I mean, I like to look at, fights and cards almost like a renaissance, right? Like it's a whole cornucopia of talented people, creative types of all sorts, right? You've got referees and they have their view of it. Some are martial artists themselves, some aren't. They just love, the kind of officiating side of things. You've got, the promoter and how they see the fights going down. They've got, you've got the coaches that see how their fights go down. You've got, photographers, interviewers, and everything. And everybody has their own view of what this combat sports game should or look like. And we all come together on these kind of fateful nights, and just kind of share our art, and it's crazy because Rembrandt, Picasso, they painted on a canvas. Well, guess what? In every facet of combat sports, what's the uniting thing of all? It's canvas. Pro wrestling, MMA, boxing, Muay Thai, karate, judo, everything. It's all done on a canvas. And to bear witness to what you guys and gals do, you guys are painting masterpieces right in front of our very eyes.
That's a beautiful thing, man. That's a good metaphor, a good allegory for it, because at the end of the day, it's I like to say guts or glory, At least if you fail, you got the guts to do it. And for a lot of people, that's what it's all about: the high risk, the adrenaline, grit in the teeth, and trying to make a name for yourself, man. A lot of people maybe like have something to prove or whatever, but at the end of the day, you just want better for yourself and better for your people. So it's a beautiful medium to be expressing through and to rise to the occasion, especially consequences, man. Nobody wants to lose or nothing like that. And it's good for the sport, man. All these different, hate it or love it, all the different personalities. MMA is such a diverse sport. Circle back to Combate Global. That's why I'm so stoked to partner with them. International fighting. I want to be in that international fight scene and mingle with people, travel, get the whole fight experience, dive head first.
No, and I mean you're kind of quiet charisma. I mean, I see you there. Like you're one who's kind of essence, kind of even in the photograph. one that we use for the YouTube card. And shout out to the photographers there. But my goodness, like you you jump out through the bloody lens. So, but I mean, before you were an enigma, right? How
Yeah.
does one, like, maybe ordinary cowboy, how's a young Quentin Camacho get acquainted with combat sports?
Oh man, well, my intro to combat sports, I wrestled in high school, and I kind of always, I watch boxing, I watch UFC, but I wasn't a crazy fan or nothing like that. Love roughhousing, backyard wrestling, bounce house wrestling at family parties. Um, but I want to say 2021, a buddy of mine, Johnny, he lived like right down the block, went to the same high school and everything. We both like music. We would ride mountain bikes together. He had his AMI debut. And I remember going to that cage fight, my first time being to any fight for that matter. And just the vibe, the ambiance, the production value, man, they had good walkouts, and the intensity of seeing somebody you know and love go in there and, like I said, guts or glory, put their skin on the line and not be afraid to be judged, man, because take your shirt off, you get those gloves on, the cage locks, the adrenaline hits like nothing else, man. And I didn't think I would be chasing this dragon, but here we are.
Now, I mean, as a wrestler, I mean, there couldn't be a better base for a combat sports athlete, particularly in MMA, right? Because the adage is, or the ethos, I would say, is, you could probably teach somebody that is a striker, karate, Muay Thai, whatever. But when it comes to wrestling, you're in a whole nother level, right? I mean, a lot of your weapons get neutralized because you get taken to the ground, right? A lot of those offensive weapons aren't there. A lot of the defensive weapons aren't there, right? So they say, if you could teach a decent wrestler to box or throw kicks or even learn a submission or two, you might have a world champion on your hands.
Yeah, man, the modernity of the sport has changed a lot in the tacticians, and especially those transitions, the cage fighting, the optics of the fight. You get a guy against the cage. He might be so athletic on the feet where it could go back and forth. Maybe it's a point going back and forth. Maybe somebody could get a knockout. But if you could really control the cage, especially at the end of rounds, throw in your strikes, have your moments. It's a big part of the sport nowadays, and a lot of people are coming around to that. All these freaking divisions are stacked with good kickboxers, good wrestlers, good jiu-jitsu guys, but it's not so more the specialists you see taking it to the highest level. It's guys who can mix things really well, and all the big names are there, man. We just had UFC 300. That goes, unsaid. All those big names, everybody's well-rounded.
So, I mean, I think it's kind of puzzling, right? You're kind of toying around with it, right? You're doing the backyard wrestling. You're riding mountain bikes. I mean, like some dude stuff, man. Like whatever. And you've got the cauliflower, ear to boot, right? But it wasn't until Johnny, takes a amateur bout and whatever, and then the kind of the tingling in the ear and goes like, maybe I should try that, or is it like a one-upsmanship, a gamesmanship of sorts? Hey, anything you can do, I can do better. What is the ethos to make you start to train yourself?
Shoot, man, it's like kind of cheesy, but like a code of brothers, like it is a little bit of one-upsmanship, like, oh, he's fighting, but I feel like the asynchronous nature of the sport, like, oh, Johnny's got to fight. Oh, now Camacho's got to fight. Kim's got to fight. Brandon's got to fight. Embers has a fight. It's like you're all riding this wave of different energy. Guys have their highs and their lows. You're there with them throughout, and it just embodies that kind of warrior spirit and also the cowboy spirit, man. Just being free, sticking to your guns, shooting from the hip, and being brave, man.
I like it. I like it. So, I mean, Johnny has his fight. Was Johnny training at Tillis? Like, how do you learn about Tillis? And especially, like, did you have any apprehensions on, another facet of grappling? Because most, freestyle amateur wrestlers, they're, maybe not in tune with the submission arts, right? They might thumb their nose. A lot of the coaches, at least in generations previous, kind of like, oh, you choke them out, that's dirty, right? So, yeah, that's the wrestling coach voice there. But did you have any apprehensions yourself, or you're just like, Johnny's doing it, I'm doing it?
Shoot, man. Well, our gym, it's a local gym, so you see everybody, growing up, and people make the drive. It's not just local guys, but for me, there was guys who came out of my high school wrestling program, which was Cal High. So Ray Bardalis, he just got his black belt. He used to wrestle with us. Coach Justin, he cornered me for my first fight. He's a brown belt under Noah Tillis. And just OGs, Travis Abeda, shout out to all the OGs, Xavier, those Whittier guys that I just met, Victor Marquez, and all these guys are upper belts, purple belts, brown belts. Johnny too. Johnny started training with Noah when he was like 14. That was big for Johnny. Johnny kind of got taken under the wing of Coach Noah, and Noah showed him a lot of love. And for him to corner him for this last bout, which Johnny won, by the way, I think that was in March, if I'm not mistaken. He won a big decision, came out to Return of the Mac. He was vibing. He was feeling himself. I cut a little promo on Instagram. Shout out to myself, No Ordinary Cowboy. Go look at that one. I collaborated with Sparstar and got into making some content. But yeah, man, I just want to pay homage to all the people who crafted me, man. When I started with Noah as a white belt in 2019, man, I never would have thought it would come to this, and to be able to share those personal experiences, not only with people inside my gym, but to make new connections like you. I really appreciate the personal aspect of it.
And that's one thing, from the outside looking in, when people, oh man, there's the filthy casuals, or the people that think they know but have no idea, what this community can be, right? They just think that we're, I don't know, Cro-Magnon and dragging our knuckles and don't know how to speak or what have you. But like the artful tacticians that there are, and the relationships that get forged, right? Because, I mean, think about just jujitsu alone, right? Think about the things that you swore you would never do. Like, I'm not going to have anybody sweat on me. Nobody's ass is going to be on my face. The hell? You're going to bleed on me? The hell with that, right? And then just happened. Oh, I mean, my goodness. Like, I remember when I started trading, right? Like, I got tossed across the room by somebody, a female that I outweighed by about 60 pounds, right? And just got tossed. Now, I mean, I guess the only saving grace for me, hindsight 2020, is that female is the Raging Panda, Julia Avila, who's in the UFC now. But even still, technique over flash and everything, that wins out, and kind of tipping your hat to the people that came before you. That's amazing, right? But you still kind of have the people like, oh, I fight, and they're just like, oh, I know how to fight, or I do jujitsu, and they start throwing chops at you.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a gi. Let me karate chop you. I don't know.
Yeah, man, it's every man's rite of passage to peacock a little bit, but it means a little bit more when you're trained and you know what you're doing, because then you could peacock a little bit less, only when you need to show your feathers and really stand your ground. I think for everybody, just feeling competent, confident, that's why they come to the gym in the first place. It might be an outlet for some people, but others, big self-defense, they want to feel efficable and athletic and dangerous should they have to protect their families. And I know we do sport jiu-jitsu combat sports a little different, but paying homage to the history of jiu-jitsu, it's known as the gentle art. The idea that these 100-pound ladies, blue belts, even not even purple, brown or black, could subdue most untrained males. It's a testament to the sport, and that was a big part of jiu-jitsu kind of surging itself into cage fighting. So
absolutely. But like you were kind of touching on, you think you have deep rooted relationships, like, to take example, like you and Johnny's relationship, like we're back at wrestling, we were on the wrestling team together, we've been in the wrestling room, how crazy that could be, and weight cuts and all that, and you're forging a path, right? But then you didn't think that you could get another wrinkle in the brain of your guys' relationship, in the nucleus of your guys' relationship, and then you guys both do this, and it's like, whoa. And it's not just the good times, right? Like, Johnny could have lost. You could have had a hard weight cut. You could have had a hard weight cut. Like, all of these things, all of these variables, right? And you see each other through, right? You give me motivation to kind of go on further than you probably would have by yourself. You have a community of people, and then you have people that are there to support you. They buy the ticket, they buy your shirt. You know, like that's it. And like it's a lot of pressure, but also when you get out of it, you know, pressure like a piece of coal without pressure isn't a diamond, right? So you guys are kind of bringing out the diamonds of each other.
Yeah, man. The academy, man, it's a breeding ground for camaraderie, friendship. It's a beautiful thing. Relationships are definitely transformed, man. And it's cool to see. Just like you said, good times, bad times. People lose fights. People have relationship problems, work problems. But at the end of the day, we come together, we train. It brings you together in a real intimate way that otherwise you wouldn't be able to. You're never getting physically intimate with people like that on a daily basis, even like your family members. So if you can train with friends, even better. Train with family, get them in there. It's anybody who trained martial arts knows that that's a central component.
Absolutely. Now, like you mentioned family, right? So, I mean, it's one thing, right? You kind of put your family through the ringer. Some people think it's cool that you're wrestling in high school. That's cool. That you're backyard wrestling. That's cool. Racing motorbikes. Okay, cool. Fighting. I mean, that's not everybody's cup of tea, right? So, when you made the conscious decision after seeing Johnny fight, and you're like, yep, I'm going to do that too. What was the general reaction amongst the people that raised you?
Shoot, man, the most memorable one is my grandma. Every time after my fight, the very first thing she says is, "Good job. Was that the last one? Please tell me that was the last one." And I said, maybe just one more. But all jokes aside, man, my support system is what makes me strongest, and I really think is going to help kickstart my career. And what's gotten me this far, man, at the Commerce Casino, man, I was bringing like 60, 70 people with me, people paying out of their pocket to show me love. And on a Saturday night, oftentimes it overlaps with Supercross, UFC, family events, and man, my family, my mom, my dad, my sister, my training partners, of course. I just love spending time with you guys.
I definitely feel like the feeling's mutual. Oh yeah, Devon Lewis, great interview. Thank you, good sir. And he's a podcaster himself, friend of mine from high school. It's cool to see him do his thing. I share the links of his stuff. Hopefully, you were paying kind. I'm just saying, no, cheap plug. But again, so that's Devon, right? We grew up much like you and Johnny, right? So you grew up together and whatever, and we're both doing the thing, right? And all what is it? All tides raise all ships. That type of deal.
Yeah.
Because it's there's the euphemism of like it gets lonely at the top, right?
Yeah.
No, you want as many cool, mother truckers out there, and that be family, that be friends, that be your teammates and everything like that, and even showing them, like, hey, grandma, this ain't the last one. Actually, I'm a champion. Actually, I just signed a pro contract. I'm going to be fighting on Paramount Plus. Paramount, you like Top Gun, right? That streaming service with the whole thing and the mountain and the stars. I'm going to be fighting on that.
I know, man. My family gets super stoked about it. I couldn't be happier to represent my family, represent my community, and yeah, man. There's a lot of good places to train, but Noah Tillis has curated one of the finest academies in SoCal. So if you're in the South LA area, come train with us, man. Come stop by. We do it all.
Heck yeah. Devon Lewis says yes, and then Lupe Trujillo, great interview, grandson. Did this mean this isn't your last one?
No, got a couple more.
No. So one more. Uno más.
There's a saying that we have in the bike industry. It's the correct number of, in this case, fights is N+1. There's always got to be one more. And that's part of having the dog in you. We always talk about feeding the dog, running the dog, and there's always one more because that dog stays hungry.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. I mean, same thing. Right? Oh, this is my last interview. No,
yeah.
not one iota, dude. I love like this face, the glow. I get to talk to fighters. Like that's my
Yeah,
gig. Like what the hell? Like
yeah,
this is cool, right?
yeah, 100%, man. With art and creation comes spirit, and I think that's something that creatives and fighters, overlap on. A lot of people come to MMA as mixed martial arts as the highest expression of what could be possible when two consenting parties throw down in a cage. So there's a reason why it's got so much pull, man. There's like a spiritual aspect to it for a lot of fighters, man, who might have not. A lot of fighters don't have home. They don't have like that spiritual underpinning. The fight life really, it elevates people, and it gets people right in their core.
Yes, because I mean, fighting is at our core as human beings. Fighting's at our core. Like you fight for promotion, you fight cancer, you fight. Think of everything. You might actually use your hand and fist, but as humans, we're, since discovering fire and running away from dinosaurs, if you believe, or whatever, like there's always been a sense of persecution, right, in our story, and overcoming, right, the phoenix out of the ashes, type scenario, right? So that's it, and when you have a community, like Devon says, you always show blessing to everyone while you're at the top, because the top never overflow in a cup.
Yeah.
I feel like that's, yeah, I hope I read that right. Yeah, you might.
Mhm.
I
I'll
don't
say that
know.
on the
The
next.
comments come, yeah, but thank you for that. Thank you for that. But it's just, it's cool. Which I want to ask you, right? Because this, so the fight that your friend Johnny had, right? I mean, when was that? In
I want
calendar years?
to say that was March, just a couple months ago, a month ago.
Oh man, so March, right? So now you're making your, like, debut on a national, like, international. I mean, it's Combate Global, right? It's global, right? Everywhere is going to see it. It's huge in Latin America. It's streaming on Paramount Plus here in the States. North America. And
Yeah,
what would your life be, like the trajectory? Like what did you originally have for this season of your life, if not seeing Johnny fight and getting involved in combat sports?
yeah, man. I mean, I go to school as kind of like my main gig, so, and I'm still in school now. But when COVID came, that was kind of like the beginning of a lot of change for people, and I didn't know what I was gonna do, so everything kind of shut down. I was just riding bikes a lot, kind of doing my thing, staying athletic. It kind of brought me back to my roots, and I was like, man, I got a lot of fight in me. I got a lot of energy, and I'm a lot more jagged around the edges than I thought I was. Growing up, I was a pretty darn quiet kid. My grandpa always tells stories about forgetting us in the backseat because we were so damn quiet, me and my sister. But growing up, man, well, I do have a great community around me, man. I got a lot of fire in my heart, and I got a lot of things that I want to express. Especially now, man. I'm 26, so I've had a great run in the amateur shows. Started off uh, 3-1, lost my first fight. 2023 was a good year to me. I got a decision finish, and then I got two stoppages, two TKOs, man. Even through my first fight, I was on the dude's back, choking him out, had a body triangle. Uh, Tough fight. But in those moments, man, where sink or swim or come hell or high water, and I felt like quitting and looking at people in the crowd, man, you're in the cage, you take a 360. The Commerce Casino is big, but you start seeing like, oh, shoot, there's my mom, there's my dad, there's my boss. Oh, shoot, there's his mom, there's his dad, there's his boss. It's like, man, the stakes are high because you don't want nobody wants to hurt the other guy, and everybody's shouting, and there's so much going on. But to your point, to take that up to the international level, man, especially since I'm fairly new to the sport, man, there's a lot of amateur guys who've been in this for a long time, black belts in jiu-jitsu, man. I'm just a blue belt. I got my belt right there. But that's a beautiful thing about the sport. It is what you make it, and this is exactly the path I wanted to be on, man. Consulting with my coaches, the people around me, and to be able to still pursue, my academic goals and my career goals, man. It's a beautiful thing that fighting's going to bring to me.
Yeah, 1,000%. Which I want to ask, like, what what are you studying?
Yeah, so I study at Cal State Fullerton. I'm a psych major. I've kind of fallen into like data analytics and statistical modeling. So the last couple of years, I've been working with like basic computer programming, so looking at like RScript, RStudio, using that to run analysis, descriptive statistics, data visualizations, and we primarily do it for behavioral research, but it transfers over to the business domain. And cross my fingers. I hope to do like an MBA program when it's all said and done. Maybe finish off my BA and then enjoy some pro fight and travel, and yeah, set my sights on some MBA program. I like working with computer applications and hopefully work an asynchronous thing where I can still fight and travel and do my thing.
I mean, geez, man, skills that pays the bills. Geez, that's that's super analytical. Which I mean, that has to go into your kind of like fight preparation. That you're so analytical, like But I mean, it can go to a fault, right? Because like you get too much into your head. But I feel like with the psych thing and the analysis that you do, I feel like you got a nice little median.
Yeah, man, we focus a lot on, of course, strategy, optics of the fight, how the fight's going to be judged and scored, but also shoot, what I was going to say, the mental attrition, the mental warfare aspect of it. And yeah, I think my pursuit in the humanities has brought me a lot closer to fighting, actually, to spirit. And like I said, for a lot of people, fighting is spirit. I've heard people say fighting is their religion, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with, but it's definitely a practice people implement in their life to become closer to the ideal within themselves and the idealized other. And yeah, I could nerd out about these philosophical concepts. It's kind of what we like to do around the campfire from time to time, hanging out with family, the boys, whatever, man.
No, I mean, again, it's what you make it. And speaking of making it, Devon Lewis wants to make you make it far in the world of MMA. So there's some goodwill from one Devon Lewis. And that's the thing. Like anybody here can chime in the comments. We will read them. Be respectful because, this guy might suplex you. I'm just saying. And I might just talk you to death. That's just what I do. Uh, but yeah, that's a really unique skill set, that you bring to the table. And that's what I love about it. Like we all come from different backgrounds and different like ways and ethos of this thing called life, right? Like Prince said, right? And us all coming together to kind of see the prosperity and the vitality of this thing that we call MMA.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's super cool, man. Like and that's like usually my favorite parts in fights where like going to a card is like the hour before, right? Especially like maybe 30 minutes before the fighter, kind of meeting with the officials and stuff like that. Everybody's just kind of buzzing and whatever, and you see people, they're intense. They, don't want to talk to people. Some people like just loose and just like cracking jokes and running sprints and stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
like we all have our own thing. And then, oh, doors are opening, and then everybody goes and scurries away. The fighter meeting happens and everything. Beltran or Mike Bell or, like they're doing their thing and whatever, parsing it out. Felicia and Jackie Denkin, they're in their nice suits and everything and whatever. And we all go out, you know, we all go out, do our thing and whatever. And then for you guys, like, literally wars, like call it art, you can call it war. You're facing your opponent, but also you're kind of facing yourself. You're digging deep, right? In situations that you probably wouldn't have in other scenarios, right?
Yeah.
And what happens? It's like even if it was like trash talk on social media, whatever, everybody hugs and whatever. That's my favorite part when everybody hugs, and then you start seeing on social media like these guys just fought, and now they're training together. Oh, the gyms are training together. Oh, it's just like whole cross pollination of whatever, and it's just like so beautiful because it's a community. It's a deeper kind of connection than because you literally went to war.
Yeah, for sure, man. The old adage, iron sharpens iron, kind of cheesy biblical quote, but it's true, man. And and the thing is that it takes a certain level of respect, humility, and a willingness to confront the unknown, that I think a lot of fighters have respect for one another, because it's that unspoken code that hate it or love it, the fans watched, and it's a spectacle. People surround themselves, even if they're not, you know, huge fans of the sport. They become entranced when they're in that environment. You know, I mean, that was my experience myself. I had always seen it on TV. It was a cool thing, man. But to see it in person, and the visceral nature, you hear the punches land, the kicks land, man. You see the blood in the corner, the intensity, man. People wanting to quit, or maybe people going to places you didn't think that guy was going to go to. That's something that Max Holloway talked about. Like, hey, man, he might be more technical than me. He might be stronger than me. But is he willing to go the places that he hasn't even planned for, type thing? And confronting the unknown, adapting to experience, and acting, not getting frozen, man. Fear makes cowards of us all, freezes us up, and shoot, man, that feeling when the hair on the back of your neck starts standing up, man. You start feeling like a dog, like a cat. You're like, oh shoot, it's real, and it's all love. At least for me, man. I don't get too personal with the fight. I know a lot of people try to do the street tough guy thing. Hey, man, F you. And, there could be some animosity to build the fight, and to build your own spirits towards it. But that's just not my style. I like to shake hands, do the face off, maybe do a little bit of mind game, playful, shit talking back and forth. But it's all love from us.
100%. And I could hear this guy talk all day. Definitely not talking about me. Nobody wants to hear me talk, but that's you. And not just there's a conviction in your voice, right? And like when you're saying, like, they dig deep, there's something that happens in your eyes where you're literally looking, like almost looking towards your soul, and you're like, yeah, that's where I go. That's where I go. Like it's beautiful to watch. Like I mean, you don't see it or whatever, but again, like, to me, it's the beauty of it, right? And then some people, they trash talk. We just added we were both at the last Smart Star. There's a big gent that was, I mean, might as well have been a cartoon character. Like, came out to some crazy music, had, I don't want to put the guy out there, but right? Yeah, if you're there, right? If you went to like the post slims, right after the title fights, and was doing all the things, and man, once the bell rang, there's a thing saying in wrestling, right? Like Bruce Pritchard, was like, and then the bell rang. You can look great, the aesthetics can be there, but when the bell rings, and the bell rang, and it was just, what's and like, again, we all come at it at different vantage points and everything like that, and the fact that he did it, like, I'm not sanctioned by Camo. I'm not sanctioned by California State Athletic Commission. I have never stepped in a cage. Like, I've trained, but I'm nearing a competition, right? So, like, you give respect to the people that have gone, but it was different. It was really different. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the talk can go on all day, and isn't it great information and with an awesome conversation? Thank you, good sir. That's great.
Man, I know we talked about this off the camera, but I just want to say shout out to your shirt, man. I love the stars on that thing. I might have to borrow it.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Actually, I picked this up, aging myself, but probably about 15 years at Hot Topic. It's like $8 at Hot Topic, and I feel like it's still here. So, a hell of a return on investment.
That's an OG dig, man. Throwback.
Yeah,
that's a good piece. Western
it's
wear.
even got like pockets and stuff. Like, it's just not aesthetic. It's like, it's actual utility. It's great. But the thing about it is, like, you shoot. And one of my favorite sayings, I've always been attracted to stars. One of my favorite sayings is, shoot for the moon, even if you fall short, you land amongst the stars, right? And that's, huh?
Didn't Kanye sing that in one of his verses?
Oh, Jesus Christ! The things that Kanye has or hasn't said. That's a whole another podcast.
We don't have to get into all that. Skip that one. Push that one.
Oh my goodness. But you know what? The first two albums, dude. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, classic.
yeah, dude. I when through the fire came out and the chaining day, you watch that video and you know the context. As you know, somebody that's of color that didn't really fit in a lot, whatever. Like man, it hooked me, hook, line, sinker. But oh man, it's been a couple decades.
Oh, man. We're going back
It's yeah,
to
oh bro.
freaking
But yeah, lol. One, I don't know if you know this guy. This guy who's in the chat. Don't know if you know him. I might. Noah Tillis says, ask him about his retention.
yeah. So so when it comes down to retention, man, at the academy, we invite guys over to spar and stuff like that, 4 p.m. And if we have a good training session, we could retain them, get them on to the next fight camp. Man, that's what he's talking about: retaining guys and carrying a good pool of training partners.
Oh, I usually when your coach is talking about retention, it's like I told him about to do this move, and he got hit, and he does everything else. That's usually that's
Hey,
where
man.
I thought it was going.
No. Dude, I'm gonna have to plead the fifth on the rest of that one. Turn the corner.
You ain't the only one, bro. I remember when I started training, right? I had really been into Ryan Hall DVDs. Don't know why. Like
Dirty
that
play.
dude, yeah, like 15 years ago, like Ryan Hall just leg locking foods. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like he
Badass.
was just getting into the UFC, like whatever, but like, man, like Ryan Hall 50-50 guard, like, man, I lived on that, dude. So like, I can't remember what we're doing, like white belt training, right?
Yeah.
And then somebody was like sweeping somebody on the other side of the mat, and like their knee hit my temple, and I got like kind of squirrely, right? So in my head, I was Ryan Hall trying to leg lock fools. It was horrible, so bad, so bad, and I think I got like knee tapped again in the head. I was like, oh,
I
no
know
more.
Boy loves it when I shoot knee bars in MMA practice, end up on bottom, getting my head smashed in. I know it really causes him great pleasure to be my coach.
I mean, a concussion is a concussion is a concussion, right?
Yeah, man, you gotta be careful. Protect that noggin.
Right. That's it. That's it. Oh man, what about those guys, right? Those guys and gals. Oh man, we love you. The gym warriors that like spar, whatever, take a fight. That the person in the gym didn't show up in the cage that night, and we don't name names, but you've seen those, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's always a fear of getting shell shocked and closing up, man. And everybody has bad days, so gotta take it with a grain of salt. You have a loss, don't let it define you. Same thing when you're at the top, win big fights, man. Everybody's congratulating you, man. Your ego gets inflated. Just let it go, man. Time passes, and but yeah, that's everybody's fear, man. Nobody wants to get freaking turned to stone in front of their family lights, especially nowadays. The stage is freaking, everything's permanent on freaking the digital area. So much content. At the same time, it's a beautiful thing because it gives you an opportunity to really make your identity. And back to the shit talking thing, a lot of people will create up these fake identities or exaggerate certain qualities, that they're not really like that in person. So having some authenticity goes a long way. But I respect the hustle either way, man. If people are going to remember you, this is your journey, and it's a risk, man. So shoot for the stars, man.
1000%. And you don't know who is going to be inspired by you, and the things you do, the things you say, what you post. You don't know, right? So you cast that net as wide as you can and see who gets retained, right? In theory, right?
Yes.
It's a little callback there.
Yeah.
But I guess, I couldn't have said it better myself. But Devon Lewis wants to know, who's your biggest inspiration, good sir?
Shoot, man, biggest inspiration. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm appreciative for my academy and my team and my family. I just want to represent the community, man. Put Whittier on the map, and man, I find inspiration in day-to-day things, man. Friends, family, like I said, repeating the same old stuff, but just seeing people do their thing, man. I got friends who make music, friends who take pictures, friends who do podcasts, business owners. It's cool, man. At the end of the day, just want to break some bread, enjoy our time, and tell some good stories along the way, man.
That's it, man. I'm in for the stories, man. Like it's, I mean, like imagine like UFC. You know, we're a week removed from UFC 300, right? And just like the stories that were told visually, like I mean, it's the feast of the eyes, the mind, the spirit, and the soul, right? Everything you wanted. If you wanted a human interest story, you got one. You want a story of redemption, you got them. You know, if you want to see somebody overcoming the odds, you got him. You just want to see somebody dominant and smash the guy that hasn't even been in the UFC a year and a half and two weight division champion, and they're talking about him going to heavyweight. Like it was a feast,
Yeah,
like so many viral moments, like whatever you want, TikTok, you want Instagram, you want YouTube, it's all across, like what have you, and it's moments like this, like the stories, right? When you
yeah,
get a Mark Coleman or Mark Kerr or Chuck Liddell
yeah,
or John Hackelman, any of these guys, like, you know, um, geez, like a lot of like Shayna Baszler, man, she's with the WWE now, but like she was fighting when there was barely a hot dog, like women fighters, women MMA, 10 years ago was rough, man,
yeah,
and you hear those stories and you just really appreciate where we are now. That you have I mean, geez, like even, man, one of these days I want to get like Tony Padilla in here and just
yeah,
like, because like, the things that he, kind of went through and had to overcome to have a stage for you guys and girls to ply your trade. That when you transfer over to a regional professional scene, going from the amateurs or from a California state champion or a Smart Star champion or whatever, to make sure you're ready, right? Everything, it's just pretty much like it's old hat for you, right?
yeah,
Like
man.
you're gonna have the interviews, you're gonna have the lights and the walkout song and whatever, and really, cultivate your identity, like you were saying, right? But I mean, the people that go through that, Robert Zimmerson, like Carlos Smith, that run the controls, Ralph Esparza, they all got stories, and they're telling your guys' story visually, you know, audioly. Like it's amazing.
Yeah. I couldn't be more stoked to represent the regional LA scene, man, the SoCal scene. Obviously, you look on Topology, you can see what everybody's amateur rankings on are in the West Coast, and most of these fighters, man, are coming to Sparstar, if not brought up in the area. SoCal brought in from the outside to unify a state title, man. Tony Padilla's got it down. It's a good show down there, and my people always have a good time. So shout out Tony, man. Appreciate it. Sparstar's one of the best in the business, man, for real.
No facts, man. And it's just, I mean, for me, like there's so many, right? You go down to San Diego and you got Epic. You go to, you know, uh, Hawaiian Gardens and you got, Knockout Fight. You
Those
go up north. I mean, like when
559.
I was, yeah, man, it like 559 is like shout out to Jeremy and Anton. Like there's so like in the Bay Area, there's so many. Like it's so like California is so rich
Yeah,
in terms of combat sports lineage, right? I mean, a couple of years ago, I mean, before he passed away, like Judo Gene LaBelle, right? Like if like Judo Gene LaBelle, his family, like basically ran the LA, the Grand Olympic Auditorium, right? Ali fought there. Andre the Giant wrestled there. Every like boxing and wrestling, you know, personality of the last like from 1970 to like now had
yeah,
some sort of lineage to that, right? And then Judo Gene himself, competed against Milo Savage in the first, like judo guy versus boxing guy, you know, fight in like 1950 some odd, right? And he's the guy who taught Bruce Lee how to grapple, and he was a timekeeper like right up until like maybe 6 months before he passed away.
Yeah.
A stuntman impresario, like hundreds of like Gunsmoke, Bonanza, like Rush Hour, like his film credits, like almost far en masse what he was able to accomplish in martial arts,
Yeah.
and like Ronda Rousey called him Uncle Gene because Gokor Shavichian and Ronda's mom, were teammates under Judo Gene LaBelle. Like
Yeah.
it's so rich, but that story, there's so many stories like that. Noah Tillis' story, like Antoine, like everybody here that Ian Harris, like how we all got to be here. Like it's just such a wealth of knowledge of MMA, combat sports. Like how to approach it. It's amazing. We're really blessed.
Yeah, man, MMA is a crazy sport, especially in the modern era. It's kind of a wild west for just expression, man, as an art. I've been to some boxing shows and some kickboxing shows, and it's a beautiful thing, man. I appreciate each sport, and even wrestling. The national tournament just passed, and I'm really going to be enjoying the Summer Olympics. But MMA, man, it's another breed. I like to say it's a circus because you get in there. I remember my first fight at Storm Stadium. The guy I was supposed to fight, but that fight fell through. We were in the same corner. I'm like, man, he looks pretty tough. He looks pretty athletic. He comes with a briefcase. He opens up the briefcase. He's got his mouthpiece. Kid you not, some bowling pins. His warm up. He starts juggling, man. And I was just tripping out. But yeah, there's so many people creating content, man. Like I think 559 Fights up north, MLH Media, I think is his name. He does a lot of interviews, and he looks like a young kid. I think his brother just fought, if I'm not mistaken. He interviewed him, and it's crazy to see, man. Creative types are flocking to it because it it's I feel like it is rich in the culture of California, being really artsy and Hollywood and and people making characters a little bit. I got the cowboy thing going on. I live in Whittier. If anybody knows where Whittier is, there's not a lot of horses around here in our backyard, but we do what we do, and we are who we are, man. We let our actions represent that. And in the cage, man, everybody's gonna see what we're made of.
I know you said in the cage, right? But I mean, you're cultivating a personality, right? No ordinary cowboy. So I want to ask you, what makes you not ordinary to your normal ordinary cowboy?
Shoot, man. Well, there's a lot of things that make me individual, but at the end of the day, cowboying is just a state of mind, man. So I'd like to think somewhere in the future I can maybe get a little ranch, a little property, maybe live that cowboy Western life. But for now, man, I'm embodying everything that means to me: family, fighting, and good food, man.
Hell yeah, dude. I love it. I love it. Um, so we talked a lot about fights, right? So I mean, Quentin, like when you're when you're at home, right? I'm sure you don't have a lot of downtime. I mean, you're in fight camp already, but like, what are you doing? Like, you mentioned about the dirt bikes and everything like that. Well, I mean, you don't want to do that too much now because obviously you got fights, you
Yeah.
got money on the line, you don't want to injure yourself and everything like that. Is there any movies you're watching, any music you listen to? Talk to us.
Yeah, man. My passive vices besides exercise, which I guess is an active vice. I like music. I like the blues. I like soul music. I like country music. So doing that. One thing that I've been passing my time with is playing like chess and checkers with my little cousin. Growing up for me, a big strategy. I used to always just play chess with my uncle, play checkers with my grandma, and to pass that torch, to pay it forward. Um, be humble, take a step back and don't get so drawn up in the personality we're creating for ourselves, and just have some time for family. And shoot, man, good game of checkers, good game of chess. Play a couple of those on a Friday night. That'll really make for a swell night. But to your point too, I do like a lot of movies, man. I do watch a lot of films. This last year, I watched The Exorcist, Eraserhead, horror films, the original Halloween, and just some weird like avant-garde stuff. for school. They make us watch these weird like French impressionistic films, surrealism, some David Lynch stuff. So you can go down the rabbit hole. I also like the big cheesy blockbusters, freaking Titanic. That's not cheesy. That's a really great dramatic movie. But even like a cheesy freaking superhero movie or something like that, just go hang out with the boys, get some popcorn. It's a good time.
You're talking to a dude who's a purveyor of Kevin Smith films, like Dogma, fucking
Yeah.
Jersey Girl, like it's like Clerks. Like
I've seen Clerks.
yeah, right. Like it's not bad, dude. Yeah. So and then like I get the weird nuanced ones, right? Like if I'm gonna give you some whatever, so I feel like everybody should see Office Space.
Space.
Right. Yes, it's Mike Judge, the creator of Beavis and Butthead and Daria and King of the Hill, right?
Yeah. The real mature.
Yes, it's amazing. Also in the Mike Judge kind of family is Idiocracy.
Okay. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, Idiocracy, and that damn thing might as well be a documentary at this point. Like it's wild, most people are like, they bring up like South Park reference. I don't get, but one thing that I do get, I think the biggest and the most impactful for me thing that Trey Parker and Matt Stone have done, basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's I love that movie. I can watch that over and over. Like I'm not a huge movie guy, but like the ones I do, I'm in. Like give me the first two Back to the Futures. I will watch that all day on repeat. Like, and I'm not a repeat movie. Like for me, you sit down, you watch it, you get the memories, and you get the fuck on with your day, right? Like, and then you kind of peruse it, maybe every 5 to 10 years or whatever, rainy day schedule, whatever, or you find that friend that has never seen Back to the Future. Like, fucking sit your ass down. We're going to figure some shit out, right? Yeah. But, like for me, right, there's two parts of movies two different movies that I live by today. You want to know what these are?
Yeah, let's hear them, man.
Okay, so Mr. Deeds, right? It's Adam Sandler. He inherits something from a long lost, grandpa, uncle, whatever. But kind of fast forwarding it, right? They're trying to kick him out of the company, right? And he's at this boardroom meeting and whatever, right? And he goes like, "Hey, like, what did you want to be when you were little?" Right? And he points to this like Colonel Sanders looking mother trucker, right? And the guy goes, "I want to be a veterinarian." They're like, and the people are like, "Yay!" It's like, "What do you do now?" "Well, I own the largest slaughterhouses in the state of Texas."
Shoot.
And everyone, oh. And Adam Sandler, I mean, I'm paraphrasing it, but to the extent he goes, "The 7-year-old you would kick your ass right now."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then the other one, walk the line, right? And we've all done that, right? To work a regular job, to kind of make sure your dreams happen, to fuel and fund your dreams, right? And make sure you got the roof over your head, food in your tummy, and clothes on your back, right? So Johnny Cash, he was doing a door-to-door salesman, had his first kid, first marriage, the whole thing and whatever. But he finally gets to audition for the great Sam Phillips, who had already had 3/4 of the $1 Million Trio: Chet Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis Presley, and Johnny Cash would be the fourth, right? And him and his band, they start out whatever, and they start to play this song. Sam Phillips of Sun Records goes, nope. Imagine if you walked out this door, got hit by a car, and you were lying dead in the gutter. Would you be singing that same hymnal that everybody has sang since the beginning of time? Or would you sing something different? Right?
Yeah, man.
And from there, the Johnny Cash, the Man in Black that we all know and love, is born. Right? And I say that to say, and I implore that to say, is live your life in the way that, in the manner that would make the 7-year-old you proud, right? And if you've got one last song to sing, what song is that going to be?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I think it's a beautiful thing to breathe spirit into the sport, man. Specifically in MMA, I think that applies. You wanna make an imprint, make your image. You don't want to just copycat what everyone else is doing. And man, I think that's something, that dream chasing the dragon. Going into the rabbit hole. Really getting obsessed with the idea of, what could the most inspirational thing I could do for myself be. Inspire yourself, and then you see that in others, man. Win or lose, I just want to carry that flame, man. Light a fire under people's asses. And when people text me, hey man, you want to meet on Friday night for some small gloves drilling, it's like the most everybody's got their busy lives, and people are texting me, hey man, you want to drill on a Friday night, you want to wake up on Sunday morning. To a certain extent, it's like, no, not really. But at the same time, it's like, when it's just you yourself and I, and you're looking in the mirror, and you're like, did I really do everything I could, and did I inspire others, and was it even worth it at all, if I didn't give it my all? So I don't know if you're looking for a literal song. If you're looking for a literal song, maybe Folsom Prison Blues or Blue Eyes. Those are two good country songs.
Fucking love it. Love it. But obviously, I mean, you in this kind of season of your life and the things that you are doing, you want, I mean, you're a strong willed person yourself, but you have a throng of support of people around you that push you to the greater good, even the good that you probably don't see in yourself, but these people see in you. So take as long as you like and fashion it however way you want to. Let's get some shout outs out of the way, good sir.
Yeah, man. Shout out first and foremost, all around MFG, man. They're gonna sponsor my first pro debut, so they're gonna help me pay for my medicals, man. They're gonna be on my shirt, my walkout shorts. So stay tuned for that. Their slogan is nothing for no one. So life ain't given, you gotta take it, and that's what we train for, man. Noah Till's Fight Academy. Brave Nation Apparel, Coach Willie, come see us Monday nights. He makes some really sweet apparel. American forward, good ethics, family man. And a hell of a wrestler. So Monday night, 7:30, come wrestle with us, get some takedowns in. Every fight starts off the feet, and we do a lift after that. So come party. Besides that, shout out Coach Chris, Coach Pot. Thanks for showing me love. Coach George and Noah, man. I don't know if you're still there, but love you.
Hell yeah, dude. Man, I so appreciate you being here. But I mean, let's not bury the lead here. The fight for Combate, your Combate Global debut, your pro MMA debut. When is that going down?
Yes, sir. July 14th, Combate Global. So follow me on Instagram at No Ordinary Cowboy. I'm going to release all the details going forward. I do a full fight promo for it. But July 14th, we're locked in. We're going to be fighting in Miami for my pro debut. So come tune in, man. It's going to be fireworks. I'm going to look for the finish. If I can't get it, I'm going to get a tactical unanimous decision, really wear on the guy.
Man, I can't wait for it, man. It's going to be July already.
Yeah, man. In good time, man. In good time.
I mean, we got some some following your story to do. So I thank you, Quentin, for jumping on here with me, and thank you guys for watching here at According to Woods. And this is According to Woods. I do the podcasting thing with combat sports athletes and personalities and stuff. If you could be so kind, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button for me. That'd be great. I mean, Quentin, you're subscribed to the podcast, aren't you?
Yes, sir. Of course I am.
Dang right. So be like the ordinary cowboy, Quentin Camacho, and go ahead and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast. But if you don't believe Quentin and you don't believe me, and I don't know why you wouldn't, here's Data Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to According to Woods YouTube.
Bingo.